Kaplan, please.
This week, last week, Thursday night, which is Zaya Ches Tammuz or Tes Tammuz, I was reading an article that Yeshua Meir gave me. He gives me paid clippings from newspapers. He's matriach himself to cut pieces out and give them to me. Sometimes we discuss different pieces. I was reading an article in the Yediot Achronot that Yeshua Meir gave me, which is telling a story about a Ger Chosid that Nebuch Rachmana Litzlan married with 6 children and went off the derech. And 3 children went along with him, 2 boys and a girl. Today, the 2 boys and the girl with him, they also went off the derech, although the girl says she never was Machal of Shabbos. And the boys are Rachmana Litzlan, they are Machal of Shabbos. And this Chiloni that wrote the article is writing as if they went from one kind of life to another kind of life. I mean, he doesn't write with hatred towards the frum world, although he does put in some poisonous comments about the Ger Hasidim, which is a group, a different group, and we don't understand their way of life. And nobody ever said we have to understand their way of life. Well, one thing I can say is that their Rebbes were Kedoshei Elyon. Once I had the chus to sit by a Suda of a Shabbos of the Ufruf, the son of Rav Moshe Mendelssohn that lives in Rehobot Caplan 67, which he's a very, very nice person. And he invited me to see the Ger Chosid. Now today he's called the Rov of Komamius, or maybe better say the Rov Komamius. His father was the Rov of Komamius, his grandfather was the Rov, and he invited me to eat with him. And in the beginning I thought I'm going to feel out of place sitting with Ger Chosid. And then I felt very comfortable. They made me feel very comfortable, very nice to me. And I would say I felt even more comfortable than to eat at certain Litai events. I would even say that. And the one that sat next to me actually talked to me and asked me who I am, where I come from. The one that sat next to me was a brother of Rav Moshe Mendelssohn. And the son, why am I saying all this? I'm saying that my little experience with Ger Hasidim was a very pleasant experience. What they do in their private lives, I don't know, and I don't think I should know, and I don't think it's important for me to know. I don't think it's going to help me anything. Of course, this article in the Yediot Achronot did go into a little bit the Takanot Hanokshot, the rigid rules that they have. This person went off to derech, and they write as if he went from one. He was megale, a new world. That's the language they keep using over and over again. And the mother broke relations with them, with her 3 children. These 2 boys that that were with the father, they said they didn't say one bad word about their mother and their younger brothers. And they said they feel pain that they broke relations with them. They would have wanted to have close relations. And that, you have to really give them credit for saying like that, not to say one not nice word about the family they left behind. There are pictures of the father and the 2 brothers. Then they tell that this man, which I don't know how, today he's maybe 47 years old, I would say. And he had a hard life as a Chiloni, working hard and there wasn't always food to eat in the house and that. You understand? You hear a new concept, Messiah's Nefesh, to be a Chiloni. Oy Lana, to what level the door of Ikvus the Mashiach reached. And that came, he fell in love with a girl 20 years younger than him, that he met at a party, understand? All these are things that this is a way of life by Chilonim Rachmana Litzlan. And she married him, and then it was hard for these two boys to live together with a woman that's almost the same age as them. So they went out and rented apartments close by to their father, and they show pictures of them with their father, and they're smiling and happy and that. But on the other hand, they tell about all the pain that they have inside about breaking relations with their mother. And again, I'm saying you have to give them credit. They didn't talk bad about that world. And they said they never believed that what'll be if I'll be Machal Shabbos. Will I survive it? Will I survive it? And they saw you could live with it. You could be Machal Shabbos and you could still survive. I was sitting on my son's merpeset reading this article. And as I was reading, going along, I just had such a terrible feeling. You went and you found a world. You found a world. You found emptiness, meaninglessness, nothingness. You flash meaningless smiles on your faces. You're just going to live a life of working in order to eat and eating in order to work. You have nothing higher, nothing above to connect to. You found a world. I mean, I was telling you, Shaman, at a certain point I decided that it's time to start learning Choshen Mishput. I can't say that I know the three bovas clear every Tosfos, but I still felt I have to learn Choshen Mishput as a pirush on the Gemara, not like they say to know halacha. To learn it as a pirush on the Gemara with the sugis and so I can say I found a world. Yeah, I can say that. And I found a world. And I suggested it in the color where I learn, and finally after a few years they accepted my suggestion. They started learning Choshen Mishput. And I started saying a chabur every week in Choshen Mishput. And not only I try not only to talk on the Ktos and the Sivas, but also to talk on the Shach, to find depth in the Shach. The Shach Torah Misina. So I talked to Baruch Hashem. I think I can say I found a world. And anybody who went into a certain derech in Yiddishkeit can say I found a world. Somebody became a Breslover can also say I found a world. Yeah, I don't know too much what world. I would only call that a world if you learn good Likutei Maran with Likutei Halachos. I would say you discovered a world. Yeah, or somebody that started learning Hasidus Chabad, he discovered a world. Or somebody, or anything, or somebody who started learning the Mesilas Yesharim and looking for depth in it, could also say he discovered a world, but outside, no, there is no world outside there. And don't say that I'm closed-minded, and you can call me closed-minded, but this is the Metzias. But not that I looked at them like Rishoyim at these people. I just felt bad. I just had this bad feeling. I don't know, maybe there were other things that caused me to feel this feeling. And while I was reading this article, all of a sudden it came into my head that there's a kina in the kinas of Tisha B'Av that we say every year. It's the next to the last kina that we not the next to the last. It's right. Oh, it's like right before the Tzions, the last 5 or 6 kinas. They start with the word Tzion, and this is the right after the first Tzion. The second, the third. Doesn't really matter. It's towards then. There's a kina that doesn't start with the word Tzion. It starts with the word Shali Srufa B'Eish Lishlom Havelayich. And this kina was written by Rabbi Maharam Rutenberg, the holy Maharam Rutenberg, that the Maggid said to the Beis Yosef, Meir Bechiri brings tears to my eyes. Meir Bechiri, Meir, my chosen one. The Maggid said to the Beis Yosef. And the Maggid said that he was very, very, very mizdachech in jail, as it's known that he sat in jail. I don't know how many years it was. I think it was in Germany, and he refused to let the Yidden redeem him, even though they collected large sums of money to redeem him. He refused to let himself get out. Because it's halacha in Podin, it says, Shvuin Yeshel Kedei Dumeim, you don't pay more than what they're worth, Mipnei Tikkun Ha'olam. And even though Adam Gadol, maybe there is a heter, he didn't want to take this heter, and he stayed in jail till the end of his life. And soon I'll talk more about what we know about him. And he wrote this kinot on the Shreifas HaTorah, the Torah that was burnt in those countries. I don't know if it happened right before his time long. I don't know exactly when, but it's Yodua. Maybe, I think it might be the same Shreifas HaTorah which is brought in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Mishnah Brura, B'Shem the Kadmonim, just let me look it up, in the end of Siman Tov Kuf Pei, where there's all the days that are roy for Yechidim to fast on. So the Mishnah Brura brings this B'Shem Sefer HaTanya, that Yom Shishi Parshas Chukas, the Yechidim fast, that on that day 20 wagons of Sfarim were burnt in France. And that's a fast day for Yechidim, which was exactly a week ago, was this Yom Shishi Parshas Chukas. And the Shulchan Aruch says, in Seif Gimel, Simon Tavkuf Pei, Seif Gimel, the Shulchan Aruch says, Yesh Misha Omer, Shegozru, Sheyu Misanim, we should fast B'chol Beis every Monday and Thursday, because we don't have the strength to do this. Mishnah Brura brings, at least some people fast, they don't eat meat and don't drink wine. On every Monday and Thursday, Al-Chorban Habayis, Al-Torah Shenisrafa, Val-Chilul Hashem, on the Torah that was burnt, and on the Chilul Hashem. And I would say now, this Chilul Hashem is that the Rishonim there of Rav Meir Medina, with Goyshka laws, with Goyshka culture, what could be a bigger Chilul Hashem than what we're living in? And on this, the Yechidim fast on Sheni V'cha, every Sheni V'cha Mishi, and the Mishnah Brura says at least not Basuviyan. One of the things is our Torah Shenisrafa. And this, the Maharam Rutenberg wrote this kinot on the Torah Shenisrafa. And this, and while I was reading this article, Pitam I remembered that it came into my mind, the kinot Shali Srufa Boesh. And I started thinking to myself, where's the Mekonim that should write a kinot on the neshamas that were burnt, on the neshamas that were cut off from the guf, on the gufim that were cut off from the neshamas? Where's the Mekonim that could write a kinot on that? Look at Yidden that belong to the Hasidus Gur, and we're not talking about all the problems that are there, because as I said, it's none of our business. But that they're miyachas themselves to Kedoshei Elyon. Mamish, the Imre is the basis for, and even without that, and look at these neshamas, where's, and besides, and not just from every group. I know somebody close to me that he went off to die.
Rabbi Kaplan, we'll take a break now.